let's jump into the topic now. What is legacy JavaScript code base? So first, understand what is legacy code, right? Why actually, and what are the things will come under the legacy code, and how we actually understand that we are dealing with it. So if you are founding like the code which doesn't have the test coverage, or maybe that code which has just written by someone else, or maybe by you or by us also. So that will become that can be actually our legacy code, or the APIs or the framework which has been outdated, and if we are using it, that will also become a legacy code. Let's uh, let me tell you like how actually I started it, and how like when I started working on the project, how I deal with it, and when I have to understand that yes, I'm dealing with a legacy JavaScript code base, and then I have to come up with some solution so that I will be able to refactor the code whole. So I'm going to share my problem, what are the resources which would be helpful over there, and the solution which I actually decided and took over there. Uh, the legacy code base, when I said it was like hard to understand the code base or adding new feature was taking a lot of time over there. So when I joined a team and I got a feature like, okay, it was a shuffle card, and there were already 5 or 6 cards were there. I had to add one more card. The requirement was just for adding one more new card, which was, which would be helpful in terms of uh, the business perspective. So when I started looking towards the code base, I started, definitely I have to set up the code. So I started going through the README, and I wasn't able to find proper, solution for it. So I took help from my colleagues, and they helped us in terms of setting up the whole code base. And once we set it up properly, I tried to find documentation, like because there were few plugins which wasn't making any sense. Like example, like why we are using it, right? So it wasn't adding any value over there. So when I actually looking towards, then let's say we are using a CSS modules to generate the class name, right? Now we also have a plugin called CLSX, which will generate a class name. I wasn't able to find any difference over there because it wasn't adding any value. Either we use, if you are using class module like CSS modules, then why do we have to use a CLS? Or if we are using CLS, then why the CSS module comes into the picture? So those things were still bothering me a lot because there was no proper, documentation to find out like why we come up with why we actually took a decision over there. Plus, uh, when something comes right, as I said, like I had to create a card over there. So when I started looking through the code base, it was really getting hectic because the code was in recursion fully, and I wasn't able to understand like uh, how should I make the changes over there that so that it should not impact the rest of the changes, because there was no test cases. And it was hard for me to understand like if I'm going to do that, definitely it is going to take lot of time for me also, because the implementation will definitely going to take time, and even not implementation but even you do the dev testing, that is also going to take more time, because now you don't have to test only the one card which you are going to create it, you have to test the whole 6 cards which you have already created previously, because that component is going to impact everywhere. So that was the use case over there. And when I found it, it was uh, I got that feeling that yes, I'm dealing with the legacy code base. I have to fix it. There were two solutions. Either if it is if the if the project or the feature which came, if it is really on the priority, let's do that and then request for the rewriting the whole code base, and then we can go ahead. Else rewrite the code base and then build the feature. And actually we did the same. We actually we took the first step. We actually created the because as it was a like quite higher priority, so we tried to write the project over there. That took actually 1.5 week mostly, and then we started working on writing the code base. In meanwhile, while working on that also, we got one more card to add, but we actually stopped that because as we are on the middle of the project, we don't have to actually do, we don't want to add a new feature, because we know that again this is gonna 1 or 2 week of time, and adding the completing the feature also, it is gonna take like mostly 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so adding this part and adding this new feature also were quite similar time frame. So we actually thought, let's skip adding new features and start with refactoring the code itself. So as you have understand, we don't have to think about what is legacy code base. We actually have to understand what makes a code a legacy. So a code which is like hard to change and it's hard to maintain, that will become a legacy code base. That was my point of view, but let's see like what other people also think about it. So first, see like when was the last time you thought of rewriting the entire project from scratch? Maybe like yesterday, last week, or last month as well, right? And if you are going ahead with this thought into your head, it means like you are actually dealing with the legacy code base, and yeah, you have to rewrite the whole process again. But rewriting the code base from scratch, is it really helpful, and why do you think we have to go with that? So in short, like what I explained earlier, so I'm just gonna keep a point here. There was not enough documentation and neither the test cases. So as the documentation was not there, so it was hard for me to understand what we are adding, where the deployment is happening, why what are the machines we are using. So there were nothing, track over there. The test cases were not there, so I had the fear of breaking things as well. Uh, Unreadable code base, and it was really hard to understand because there were no proper comments also. As we have seen, right, writing the proper comments will definitely going to help the devs in terms of understanding the snippet, like why we are writing it. I mean, instead of telling that what we are writing, because the developer, we will be able to see like what we are writing, right? So it should be better if you should start writing why we are writing the snippet over there and what's the function actually is it doing. I'll just give you a small example here. When I was actually creating a transform function, I had written a comments like this was the input, and I was expecting a this output. So this is the function for this is the transformation function for that. That actually gives us the idea like, okay, the input was that and we were expecting this output. So the code was formed in that way, and it was easier to understand the code base itself that time, because I had the input and output both in our mind. So that's a use case, right, in terms of writing the proper comments as well. So that was also missing. Just found like the rewrite the whole change itself, or maybe like not using the coolest thing out there. So what does mean the coolest thing? So imagine you guys working on the jQuery project or working on some full frameworks like React or Vue or Angular. So definitely we usually pick those coolest frameworks. So that comes here like the coolest thing here. Solutions. So as I said earlier, like I'm just going to discuss the problem, the statement, what I failed, and if those points were there, then if those points were not there, then that actually made the code as a legacy code base, and how I come up with the solution so that we actually try to build the project so that it should not be a problem later on, and adding a new feature will definitely not going to take lots of time from now onwards. So we created a pre-POC. As I said, it was a dynamic form initially. So there were multiple libraries over there to actually work on uh, use it, so that that will bring more that will be useful methods were there. Example, formic or react hook form, which we took. So formic, if we say like formic is for controlled component, and react hook form is for the uncontrolled component. So again, it's like our call, like whether we'll go with the controlled and uncontrolled component, but definitely like all libraries where have the pros and cons. So we just have written over there and just took the decision like why should we go ahead with something. And if we are going with the formic or react hook form, then we created a dummy project with all the small features, especially like the harder feature like creating array component or a kind of object component, so that it would be easier to understand like how we are going to form when we comes to start writing the like when we go into the code level. actually. So that actually gave us the confidence when we built some kind of a demo content over there. And we took the JSON approach. So JSON approach was actually really helpful. So we created a JSON. For example, there were 6 cards. So in a single card, in a single file, we created a lot, like all the 6 cards. And using the JSON approach, we used to present a card over there. It was really great because now if anyone wants to add a new card, they just have to update the JSON and your card will be there on your browser. You don't have to, go ahead in the code base and make any changes over there and deal with anything because your components and everything was that generic. So you don't have to, take care of the lots of the things over there because everything has been taken care from the initiating point of view. We used actually YUP for validation. YUP supportable is pretty very good for Formic and React Hook form. And we used actually YUP for the validation. Initially, it was a bit tricky to use the YUP, frankly. But when we actually got quite very good hands on YUP, so then we started for the first project, it was quite tough, but later on it becomes easy and then it's really helpful in that sense as well. Let's see like what the other devs also think about the legacy code base. I actually took a poll on Twitter where I'm just gonna tell like what other people also think. Let's see the first. What is the most frustrating when working on legacy code base? Okay, so most voted is fear of breaking things. Yes, definitely. I also had the same fear. Second, how to deal with the legacy code base, and the most voted has gone to the refactoring. Yes, definitely like burn it down. Quitting the job doesn't bring any solution over there. So let's just skip that. Comes to like first and second, which will be your start writing test cases or maybe refactoring. I would say both because both would be important. If you refactor your code while refactoring, also if you in the refactoring process, if you start writing the test cases, that is gonna help you in terms of not again writing the legacy code base, but refactoring the whole code base. How will you actually deal with that from the business point of view? Because you see, because the things when you build the project, it's done, right? And the features are coming, you're going to build it up. But if you actually have to refactor the whole project, and it's going to take time, it's going to take month, and then how is it actually going to impact your business? Is it really going to help the business also? So yes, definitely. uh, from the research also, like like I found it, this one uh, by the like consortium for IT software quality. In the 2003 it was like $70 billion, but in 2018 it is $596 billion. So you can see the differences, right? I mean, there can be multiple reasons, but there were two most important reasons were there which was important. The first was staff costing, and the second was your technical debt. Let's talk about staff costing first here. In terms of staff costing, I would say how staff costing comes, right? So if your code or if the tech which you are using, if it becomes really older, then it will be really hard, or it will be rare to find, the devs over there for the older technology. And if the devs are also already there, then uh, they will be like taking a very good pay over there because uh, finding the right skill set for the older technology, it's really hard. Or if you really want, like if you're hiring a new person also, then actually training them, right? It's also gonna take up lots of amount for you. So in both ways, it's actually a payment is high. So instead of, like you got, and definitely like where the payment or money comes up, the business is there. Second is the technical debt. We all devs know what is the technical debt, but in short, there are two things which I understand about the technical debt. If we miss the deadline, okay, and if we try to create a solution in a very speed way, and that solution will become a technical debt sometimes. The second, the production issue fixes, which we used to fix is on the priority, but we miss sometimes like why we are actually, what we are writing over there. So that also it becomes the same, the technical debt. Let's see, like, what actually causes it. Initially, like, the code has been outdated tech stack. We already discussed about, the tech stack part. Adding a new feature, you started working with some cool framework. Okay, so let me, like, share one more experience here. A long time back when I was working with the team, and they were using, jQuery project. I also like started using jQuery. It was really cool, and it's well, like, was working on it for like past 1 year. Then uh, Vue, React frameworks where everything was there in the pipeline. So we were deciding like what to choose for creating any new feature. We choose to use actually Vue over there. We started using it. We actually created the components, and whatever the feature was coming next, we used to create the in the Vue only, not in the jQuery. So if you can see, right, the new features, whatever we are creating in the Vue framework. That is very cool. But your jQuery code, which is there in your plate, it is becoming your outdated stack, and that is actually creating a technical debt. So now you have to deal with it because everyone loves to work on the cool stuff, but on if you talk about the jQuery stuff, we really have to understand like have to remove the whole code base so that and move the whole code base jQuery code base to the Vue framework so that we are removing the technical debt from our pipeline. How to overcome with tech debt? Following the JS coding standard or pattern, like what I said right now, right? If we have like both, if in a single project, if we have one cool stuff or if we are using old technology, let's move this to native technology also. Uh, in a like proper way. Definitely, we cannot handle everything in a single time. So, in a like 10%, we should deal with it. A few tools which are really helpful from my point of view. ESLint, in terms of linting, because while working with a big colleague, like while working in a team, and when everyone is working on the same project, it is really helpful in terms of maintaining the code base, so that everyone should be there on the same page. Even though if we miss something, to review it while doing the code review, ESLinting will mostly take care of it. Very small changes over there. Validating commit message, it's really a great plugin, I would say. I have seen a few messages like the commit message whenever I wanted to see like, okay, who has added this line and why line has been added. So in VS Code, if I saw fixed the issue, literally fixed the issue, what does it mean? I know you fixed the issue, but what was the issue? What was what the other files you have actually fixed it out? And when you actually fixed it, what did you think? Have you added anything over there, comments or anything? Nothing were there. It was really messed up over there because understand whatever the commit you write, it should be understandable. Not for you definitely because you are writing it, so you definitely know. But you have to, while writing the commit message, you have to think about others also, because if some people are gonna come and look into your code base or look into your commit message, they will be able to understand like why this code has been written previously also, so that if they are planning to change it, they will take care of it for the next time. That if I'm going to change it, then okay, if it is changing this, I should be able to check that area as well. So the valid commit message is really important. Prettier is just for prettifying your code base over there. That's good. JS doc is for documenting. If like you'd love to create a document, but definitely like going to other platform and creating the doc on Drive or something like that. If it is really getting hard, then JS doc is a great plugin where actually you can write your code, write your doc into a snippet kind of thing, and or to the like on top of the file or on top of the function, wherever you wanted to actually include, you can include that snippet, and you can add the as a code over there, your doc over there, and there will be actually script which once you run it, it will generate a link, and once you open that link, you'll be able to see the documentation. So whatever the snippet, whatever the script, like doc in a script, in a snippet which you have written over across all the pages, it will actually create a single file, and in a single file you will be able to see the whole script snippet which you have added there. How to convince your product manager for technical debt. Yeah, this is also quite very good topic, because convincing the product manager, it's quite sometimes it becomes tough. I've seen both way. I initially, like I've seen few managers who used to understand the problem, and they are totally okay with if you're working with the technical debt. But a few managers mostly focus on the on terms of prioritization. It happens like you have to work on the features. Technical debt comes more later. How to deal with that, right? Because we have to convince our manager that if like how I convinced my manager in terms of when we are actually doing the refactoring for whole shuffle cart. So that makes sense because we are going to reduce a lot of time. We are going to reduce the performance over there, and if we are putting some numbers to in front of the manager, that actually adds a lot of value. Plus, if it is taking a lot of time, if it's not getting aggregate, then maybe we can put one more offer over there that if it is going ahead in a sprint wise, then instead of taking the whole sprint or whole month, maybe we can take a percentage wise time in a sprint. So example, you can take 15 to 20% for the sprint, and you can work on the technical debt, and rest of the time you can actually work on the business part. These are the few VS Code plugins for debugging, and these are like I really love this all the four plugins. Let me tell like what Quokka does. Quokka will be actually very helpful in terms because it will definitely gonna boost your productivity. If you're doing a lot of console log to debug it, it actually run will give you the output in the runtime only. You will be able to see the output, the value in the IDE tool itself. Like wherever like you define the variable, you'll be able to see the what will be the value output for that value in that line. So you don't have to actually do the console log every time. Turbo console is really helpful if you are actually love to use console over there. Then you can use it. This plugin will actually help save you lots of time. Imagine you're writing code console in a single file, then writing a proper message and then variable, and understanding it, like in which line you have written that, a string over there, and so into the inspect element. It's really hard to understand. Then you come back to the code and understand, okay, yeah, this is the line which we have written. Instead of that, you can actually, what you can do, you can just install this plugin. You can just do the control option L for all the variables which you want to do the console log. That will actually write the proper message with the line number. Like if the line is there on the 17th line, then they will put the 17th line over there and then the variable. So you will be getting the value. In that case, like you by while seeing the value into your console tool, you'll be able to see by for which line it will be what for the value were there. So that will again definitely going to help you in terms of saving a lot of time over there. And instead of adding lots of messages, you can actually properize property, add the property for the console over there. You don't have to take care regarding the variable or message. You don't have to think about it. Prettier is definitely going to help in terms of a code formatting. Code tour is also helpful in terms of recording your things. So imagine whenever some colleagues who join your team and you have to actually go ahead with the whole explaining the structure for the portal or for the even the dashboard or something like the code editor, right? Then you can actually take the help of code, take the help from the code tool, and you can actually re-onboard anyone, whoever new person, or if you wanted to share anything with others, you can definitely gonna do that or walk through from the team as well. Typing is really important because as we know in JavaScript, we have as a called we don't define the type over there like how we used to define in C or Java. But here in JavaScript, what we can actually do, we can use this other typing in JavaScript, TypeScript, Flow, or crop types. Crop types is actually for the React platform only, but these two are you can use for any other technology which you really wanted. Well, yeah, why typing is really important. I mean, it really helped me in terms of when I was not using TypeScript and Flow. Also, I started using crop types because it happens sometimes, like you create the project and you actually define some variable in a string, and somehow you don't remember later on, and then you are putting the variable as a number. That will give you an error that time, so that it actually say, instead of going ahead to the browser and seeing the output, there itself you will get to know, like, okay, this is a product you're using in the wrong way. Just you have to define a string over. Latest is not always greatest. It's a quite very good sense over there. um, we always go with the latest flow, like whatever the new frameworks, new technology come, we always go with that. But just try to, like, remember one thing: if we actually have to build something for the production level, don't really jump into the new things, like, on the same time, because first learn it, research more, and then jump into it. There were a few things which I noticed, like, which would be really important if we take care of these two things. Uh, as I said, investing, right? Instead of investing time while building, first invest your time while researching it. Finding the proper packages, whatever you're going to use, and start writing the processes in the doc, so that if once you start implementing the processes, you won't that will definitely going to save a lot of time. Plus, you don't have to, suffer a lot on that time. Plus, uh, you have to, try to find out, like, whatever the technology which you are using, is it, like, supportable, or is it actually, when you're stuck somewhere, are you going to find a solution somewhere, especially like on the Stack Overflow? So we have to take care of those things. So these are the three things which we actually have to look. Definitely, first we have to check the GitHub community as well, how it is supportable, how many issues are open, or maybe like, how frequently they used to communicate, and uh, is it like the committing or pushing are frequently. Plus, how many actually stars are there, or how often it is getting downloaded on npm or yard. Definitely, I already said about the Stack Overflow. Just definitely go and check, because Stack Overflow, as a dev perspective, it is a lifesaver. So I would say, like, uh, don't miss at least the last line as well. I mean, it's the last, but definitely not the least time. But uh, have a look, like, do a research very thoroughly before jumping anything to work on the new technology for the production level. How can you make your code base non-legacy? Definitely, like we spoke it initially, like, uh, if those things were should be there on the plate, then I would not have been, think about it, refactoring the whole code base. So the first were the documentation, which we remembered. The great documentation always helps. Either it is documentation like docs, or either it can be like, your README file also. Try to keep updated your README file as well, because instead of asking dev every time, I have seen few people who actually, even though you have updated the README, people used to come and ask you, like, how to actually, work on, and what is the setup for this. But if you can, at least you can share this, that you can actually look into the README, and if you have any question, then reach out to us. But yes, README definitely going to help you in terms of, it will definitely save you a lot of time over there. A good test coverage testing is really important. As I said initially also, when I was actually writing the test cases, it helps instead of just writing the test cases for the component wise, I would say write the test cases for across, for the event as well, for mock the APIs if there is a APIs, and try to figure it out in that way, so that if if anything is going to add, or if anything is going to update into the APIs, you will be from the front end also, you have the proper, testing is over there. Try to put some threshold, so that a threshold, like, imagine you are putting 85 or 90%. Just imagine, like, you have put like 90%. So if it is, coming below that, then you won't be able to push the code itself. So try to put some threshold over there, so that it will help you in terms of a good test coverage as well. Modular code base. Definitely, like it will be much easier to maintain if you are using the modular code base. And because in terms of a modular code base, you have to put the architecture in your mind, and then you have to design the codes accordingly. So it's really helpful over there. Code review is also very important. It really helped a lot in terms of both way. I mostly learned initially a lot while doing, while doing the code review, or maybe while getting, the comments from the team. It really helped a lot in terms of improving my skill over there. I learned a lot actually, if maybe because the code which we are writing, definitely we know that this is correct, but the solution can be great also, right? As a developer, we know like how to write a code, but writing a proper code and writing the performance adequate kind of a code, it's really helpful as a dev or as a programmer as well. So coding review is really important. Just try, if you don't have, if you're really working alone in a project, then I would say try to find, a front end team over the project level. I mean, try to find a code. Okay, why I'm saying this? Because in a single team, like if I am a front end developer, then I used to ask few of my colleagues from the different team who is working there, and share my code review like PR to them, and they used to review. Definitely, they are not going to review it right away because they don't have that much of time, but they are going to review it later on as well. Even though if you are going to push it, then let them review so that you can fix it later on, and just try to push it. You are going to learn a lot from it. Dead code, yeah. Dead code is also there. uh, we have seen that, okay, let me tell you like what is dead code. Like the code which is not going to use into our code base, that is called dead code. I mean, maybe you have removed some of the components, but the code is still there, so that will become a dead code. Why dead code is bad? Because there are again many reasons, I would say. Let's come with the first. It adds noise. Yeah. So if you have seen, if actually your code base has the unwanted code which is not getting used now, right? So imagine you got stuck somewhere into the problem, and while coming to the code and you are planning to debug it, uh, it's really hard because there are lots of the code. Now it's getting hard to maintain it, right? Essentially because maybe like by mistake you are looking into the same code base which is not there. uh, in short, if I would say, when I was working in a team, uh, then there was a checkout page. In that checkout page, there were three files: checkout A, checkout B, and checkout C. It was getting hard for me to understand which file actually is working. Was it a A because it is a new, or was it a C, or why is it a B? Right? It was really getting hard for me to understand like what file is it was. So I had to do a console log and check like which file it is working. And in that case, it took a lot of the time for me to understand that also. And then I had to remove the unwanted code, because also like when removing the unwanted code, we cannot delete it easily until unless we are not sure that it's not getting used somewhere else, right? So definitely, like if you think we are, if you're actually removing some kind of a component, if some component are getting deprioritized, delete the code itself so that you won't see the extra code over there. It definitely impact your performance also, because definitely you're not running, you're not calling it, but while building it, your code is there. So definitely it is gonna impact your network performance also. Especially I have seen in terms of a CSS files. uh, uh, Even though if you remove the component, and if we have only one style component, let's say like we are using a style components, or if we are using a one a normal style.css file where we have the whole CSS for across all the project, and we haven't removed that snippet for that component, that would be there. And uh, this is gonna increase your more memory, and in that it will definitely gonna impact your network performance over there. It can come back to life. Yes, I mean this can also actually, because you don't know. I imagine you are not using it, but by default you actually call it. Even though it is not there, you try to, you call the function because you think it is a helpful, but it's not imported somewhere. Now you are thinking like why it is not getting called. So it can also like come back to life. So try to remove the unwanted code over there. Removing the dead code elimination is also important. The first will be, we can say that a static code analysis, which can actually, which usually highlight your part of the code which is no longer used. But definitely it won't work in terms of a dynamic part of code. But if it is a static, it helps you like, okay, this code is not getting used, so you can remove it. So if you have seen, um, okay, if I'm not sure like what plugin I was using, I wasn't remember, but using that plugin, even though if I import something and I created a component, but somehow like I got to know like I don't have to use this component, I don't have to use this element, just remove it from the other plugin, and then I was just creating a div over there. In that case, the imported, right, which I have imported at the top, it is still there, which is not there, which is not getting used. So actually, it will get blurred if you're not using it. So that way you can actually, able to remove it over there. Code coverage tools is again there is a tool called Istanbul, which really helps in terms of you highlighting the dynamic section as well. So previously we were talking about the static code analysis. This Istanbul will take care of your dynamic code as well. Manual user flow investigation, which you have to go, like one by one file. Like imagine you just open a source folder. Inside, just go ahead with one by one. Like okay, pages are there, components are there. Inside the component, what components are getting used, or if it is CSS, then what CSS are getting used. So you can actually run one by one as well. That feature like as I said, right, the that feature I would say like I was taking as a component wise. So let's say like there is a feature which has been removed. You created a component, but you created a feature, but this is not in the priority. It has been removed, it has been deleted from the business point of view, and you also have deleted the button, but the code is still existing. Okay, now you really have to remove that code, because uh, all the things which I said earlier regarding it will come back to life. You will try to debug the code again. You have to, even though if you are not gonna do use it, you are gonna do the you're gonna search it like where are we using it. At least it is gonna take some time. Dev time will be definitely there if you are not gonna remove it later on. What would you choose? I mean, while coming to um, creating project from scratch, or maybe working on legacy code base, what would you choose? So again, I took a poll over there as well by the Twitter community. um, they mostly selected like created app from scratch. Definitely like creating app from scratch, it sounds really cool, but working on legacy code base, uh, it's also I mean not I cannot able to say that we should actually go with that as well, because I used to choose, work on legacy code base, because I have seen more of the people who used to work on something, who used to love to start writing something from scratch. But working on legacy code base, it becomes difficult. Why? I mean, for me, I doesn't, feel it. Let's see why I feel it is awesome. Your debugging skills will get boosted. Yes, I mean, I totally agree with that. You once once you work on the legacy code base, while debugging some issue or something comes onto your file, then you while debugging your debugger experience will getting higher over there. You really learn a lot. You understand like how you actually debug your problem properly. That is going to help if you will start building a new things also, right? It is going to help you there. Plus, even though if it is a legacy code base, it doesn't mean that you don't have to build something from scratch, right? Maybe like you found like okay, there it is like legacy code base, and it cannot be fixed like while just rewriting the few components. Yes. So in that case, right, you can actually work on the like the project from scratch also. So you will get the opportunity to do that also, or maybe you will get more experience on writing the working on the old code base, refactoring it, finding more issues over there, fixing it. So bug fixes is really awesome. I mean, I love to do that because definitely it's sometimes it's a time taking, but finding a complex problem, right, in terms of a legacy code base, it's really easy because bugs are there. We just have to fix it. And if the components are really tricky, which is like it's hard to refactor also, and refactoring the probably component also is unsolving, then there's a issue like we have to rewrite the whole project also. So this is the both cases. Let's come to the summary now. The first thing which I always come, working with dead code needs not be hard if we can document, follow good coding practices, or having the high code test coverage. It is really a fun, really. I mean, if you really follow the good documentation over there, very good test coverage, because using those things, you won't have the afraid of something will get break, or maybe you have to use some new feature, or maybe you have to remove some kind of outdated tech stack, and you can work on the new technologies, right? We need to make sure that we avoid writing code which becomes legacy over time. We really like imagine, even though if you are doing some production fixes, right, I would say like if you have done it, that is good. I mean, even though if you have created a technical debt while fixing the bug, that is not an issue. I mean, that's our job, we should do that. We have done that. Now I would say like take a note of it, write a proper comment over there, that is a kind of a to do, right, that yeah, you have to come back onto the same problem by tomorrow, and you have to actually fix it, and you have to find the root cause of it. So there can be two things, right? I mean, you will be able to fix the problem by the root cause on the same day, but it can happen that you're doing some kind of, you're not doing a proper fixes over there. You're just doing a depth over there. So in that case, you can actually write a to do so that you can actually find the proper root solution over there and able to fix it, so that you will be, actually not adding the technical depth like quietly, if I would say. Code with empathy. It means like don't write lots of the hacks over there. If it is taking time, it's okay. Try to take time, that is fine, but don't like uh, add lots of the hacks over there in terms of creating a solution. If you are facing some of the issue, if you think the code is becoming lengthy, or if you are writing a lots of the if conditions, I would say your approach, maybe there is some issue in your approach. Find out how can we solve it. Try to write a note, like writing the solution right properly on your paper, or properly on your comment, like kind of a comment section. It really helps you in terms of good taste, like good code over there as a good coder. Cool. I think that was pretty much from my end, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. You can reach out to me like on your SUPRABHA Supi as the Twitter, on Instagram as well. Or if you have any question, feel free to ask me. Thank you.